A recent report conducted by Microsoft found that remote working is making productivity and innovation harder. ZDNet's Owen Hughes read through this report. Owen, tell me, what did Microsoft find? What did the report say?
So this was a study of Microsoft's entire US workforce. So it was over 61,000 employees in the US. All of them, they had been sent home to work remotely in March 2020 after the pandemic hit. And it was really looking at how the change in working arrangements, so how employees working from home full time, kind of affected communications. And the key kind of takeaway of this was, and it's something we've seen before, which is that working kind of asynchronously or working in settings that aren't face to face are making communication and collaboration harder. So particularly when there's been a breakdown of face to face meetings and video calls, or just kind of people relying more on instant messaging and emails to communicate, they found that information isn't being exchanged kind of in real time as much. So, you're sending a message and people might be picking up later. It's not being actioned upon as quickly. So there was kind of 2 points of this. The one hand, it was meant that obviously information wasn't being exchanged, as I said, as quickly, but also it meant that fewer people were kind of communicating with colleagues in other organizational units. So while bonds were being kind of strengthened within individual teams, there was less what they called intraconnectivity between other business units. So, maybe somebody from sales wasn't necessarily communicating as much with somebody in the product team. And the conclusion was essentially that if businesses are going to make this long-term shift to remote work, these are things that they're really going to have to think of if they want to kind of make sure that productivity and collaboration and innovation kind of remains at pace and doesn't get stifled by people not being able to interact face to face.
Okay, so as depressing as it is to say, the pandemic doesn't really seem to be letting up anytime soon. What does Microsoft propose to help mitigate some of this?
Well, obviously Microsoft has a kind of a stake in making remote working work, as to a lot of software companies. So obviously Teams has been hugely successful throughout this year and last year. And, one of the points of the study was that synchronous messaging, so that could be video or face-to-face or anything that's kind of translating in real time, is much better at allowing teams to communicate and exchange information. So you can kind of see why they would want to kind of propose this, put this study forward. It's kind of a warning to say that remote working, there's still some things to kind of figure out, but at the same time, there's obviously the angle of we have video conferencing software. Video, that kind of face-to-face collaboration is still really important. So, it's kind of saying what we all know. It's saying that flexible working, remote working, nobody has it figured out yet. People who say they do have it figured out, frankly, are lying, or at least they're being very optimistic. And this is just something that companies are really going to have to kind of think about more and more as we see these organizations mulling a return to the office.
All right, Owen, thank you so much for reading through the study and reporting on it for us. It'll be interesting to see how innovation, if it sparks, if it improves any, but we are 18 months into this, so who knows? As always, for all things tech, be sure to stick with ZDNet. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel.